If you look back at your relationship history, you might notice something uncomfortable. Different faces, different stories, but strangely, the same kind of ending. The same arguments, the same emotional distance, the same feeling of slowly losing yourself. And at some point, you start asking a difficult question: why do I keep choosing the same kind of love? This isn't about blaming yourself. Most people aren't consciously choosing pain. But the truth is more complicated. Very often, we don't choose what's healthy. We choose what feels familiar. And familiarity can be incredibly powerful even when it hurts. Today, I want to talk about what psychologists sometimes call familiar pain. The strange tendency to return to the same emotional patterns in love, even when they've already hurt us before. One of the most uncomfortable truths about human psychology is this: your brain does not primarily seek happiness, it seeks predictability. Predictability means safety to the nervous system, even if that predictability includes pain. If someone grew up in an environment where love was inconsistent, warm one moment, distant the next, their nervous system may come to associate love with uncertainty. So later in life, when they meet someone emotionally unpredictable, something inside them recognizes it, not consciously, but deeply. The body says, "This feels familiar." And familiarity can feel strangely like chemistry. This is why many people describe toxic relationships as intense. But intensity is not necessarily connection. Sometimes it's simply recognition. Your nervous system recognizing a pattern it learned a long time ago. This is where things become paradoxical. Healthy love can actually feel uncomfortable at first. If you're used to emotional highs and lows, calm relationships can feel almost suspicious. No drama, no anxiety, no constant wondering where you stand. And instead of relief, some people feel boredom or even restlessness because the nervous system is used to stimulation. Familiar pain has a rhythm: distance, then closeness, conflict, then reconciliation, silence, then attention. And that rhythm creates emotional spikes that can feel like passion. So when someone stable enters your life, someone kind, consistent, emotionally available, it can feel strangely flat. Not because the relationship lacks depth, but because your body is adjusting to a different emotional environment. For many people, familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar peace. A lot of relationship patterns are shaped much earlier than we realize. Psychologists talk about attachment styles, which are essentially the emotional strategies we learned in early relationships. If someone grew up needing to earn attention or approval, they may unconsciously seek partners who recreate that dynamic, not because they want to suffer, but because the brain is trying to solve an unfinished emotional puzzle. There's a quiet hope behind many familiar patterns. Maybe this time I can get it right. Maybe this time the distant partner will stay. Maybe this time the emotionally unavailable person will open up. In a strange way, people aren't always chasing love. They're chasing resolution. But relationships are not therapy sessions, and most partners are not consciously participating in someone else's healing story. So the pattern repeats. Modern life makes this dynamic even more complicated. In many Western societies today, people are more isolated than previous generations. We move cities, we build careers, we live independently. But emotional support networks are often smaller. So when a relationship appears, even a complicated one, it can quickly become the center of a person's emotional world. And when that relationship ends, the silence can be overwhelming. Loneliness has a powerful psychological effect. It doesn't just make us miss people, it makes us reinterpret the past. Suddenly, the relationship seems less painful than it actually was. The good moments become brighter, the difficult ones blur, and the familiar pattern begins to feel tempting again. Not because it was healthy, but because it was known. This is where many people get stuck. They confuse familiarity with compatibility. Just because someone feels emotionally recognizable does not mean they are emotionally healthy for you. And just because a relationship feels calm does not mean it lacks depth. Real compatibility often feels quieter than familiar pain. Less adrenaline, more stability. Less guessing, more clarity. But if someone's nervous system has been trained to expect emotional volatility, calmness can feel almost disorienting. Learning to recognize healthy love often means learning to tolerate unfamiliar emotional territory. The first step in changing familiar patterns is not willpower, it's awareness. Most people repeat relationship patterns unconsciously. They simply follow what feels right in the moment. But feelings are shaped by history. When you begin to notice patterns, emotional distance, certain personality traits, the same relationship dynamics, something shifts. You start seeing the structure behind the story. And that awareness gives you space to choose differently. Not perfectly, but more consciously. The kind of love that lasts usually doesn't feel like the movies. It's not built on emotional chaos. It's built on steadiness, reliability, respect, emotional safety. And at first, that can feel unfamiliar. But unfamiliar does not mean wrong. Sometimes unfamiliar simply means new. And new is where change begins. If you found yourself repeating the same kind of love again and again, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means your nervous system learned a pattern. Patterns can be powerful, but they are not permanent. With awareness, patience, and different choices, the emotional map you follow can change. Familiar pain may feel comfortable, but real love isn't supposed to feel like something you have to survive. It's supposed to feel like something you can finally rest inside.